What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring all of us to do better, look better, love better, feel better every damn day of our lives. And our Tuesday night show, presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. It is a place I am almost every Monday through the spring and summer as I play my co-ed soccer league. And I'm going to tell you, the thing we have almost every Monday, a big group of us, is the pad thai. They do a million things well at Cask & Company in Front 43. But if you've never had their pad thai, it is worth it. It is a fantastic dish. Also, just a great place to congregate, watch games, drink beer with friends. Lots of beers on tap. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Why don't you write something? Why don't you write something, huh? Why don't you write something?
Boy, Michigan State and Izzo making you guys write stuff, huh?
Been a little eventful couple days. You know what I love about it? As long as basketball news is happening, spring football really isn't. You know what I mean?
Yes. We've all missed this bit about how much you hate spring.
I don't hate
spring football.
Sorry.
But the big question
Fix
is,
that in post.
Joey Hauser tomorrow? 5 o'clock? Is that what we're waiting
Just
for now?
one day
bring the
after
whole
another.
band back together?
There is an Izzo. What should be interesting is Wednesday. So depending on when you're listening to this, Wednesday at 2 o'clock, Izzo is having like a media availability press situation where we'll be able to ask him about some of this and everything that's going on and get a better feel for certain things. But if you haven't been paying a whole lot of attention, Tyson Walker announced he's coming back for his extra year, his 5th year of college basketball, 3rd year at Michigan State. Did so on Monday. And then on today, Tuesday, about 5 o'clock, Malik made his decision official, and I think it was something that I thought he was going to do for a long time, and I think he had probably made up his mind for a while, but today made it official, and that he's coming back for his 5th year at Michigan State. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of sweat equity, man. That's
Malik
a lot
Hall?
of talent. That's a lot of guys on one team.
Redemption tour this year?
I think the Hall, and I've said this before here, I think Hall coming back is more significant for next year's roster than Tyson Walker coming back. Doesn't mean he's a better player than Tyson Walker. Not what I'm saying. But when you look at next year's Michigan State roster, where there is need, I think, like Tyson Walker, terrific player. But without him, they would still have Jaden Akins growing into perhaps more than he's been, Jeremy Fears Jr., A.J. Hogard, Trey Holloman is a sophomore who had a promising freshman year.
But Tyson Walker was the guy that got you buckets when you needed it, and Malik Hall. That's
Totally.
why it's crazy for people are going to hear that and go, oh, here's Couch again. He's crazy.
No, and so the Malik Hall bit, though, is when you look at their roster and where their youth is and some of the things they need, like their center position is Xavier Booker, who can play the 4 or the 5, but if he's at the 5, he's a freshman. Undersized guy, freshman. You have 2 sophomores, still figuring things out a little bit, but should be better, in Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler, presuming everybody comes back. And then you have Madi Sissoko, who's played less basketball than all of them, who's a senior. And so to have a guy who's a savvy player who understands, who allows you to, handle different defensive or different tough matchups, who is versatile defensively, who can play a couple different positions, who can guard 3 through 5 with certain matchups, can cover for guys when they're not there, is important, especially when 2 of your forwards who may play a lot. Everybody talks about Cohen Carr, another freshman. I don't know how much Garrick Norman will play next year, but freshman. Like, you have a lot of youth, and to me, Malik Hall is an anchor, is a power forward and wing, and occasionally is a center, guy who they can use in a lot of different ways. Now, you do have 12 guys that think they're probably going to be part of the rotation next year, and that's where it gets interesting. And what I'm curious about is you got to make sure you turn this depth into an asset, but you also have to have just difference makers, and that's what Tyson Walker is. And where else can he take his game? Who else on the roster takes themselves to a certain level where they're a problem for opponents regularly in a certain element of their game? And because the thing that you want to make sure you have as a team is you can have all the depth in the world and you can have a lot of really good players, but you want to have a couple guys who are problems for people, who are stars, beyond depth. And so you can't just, if you look at next year's starting lineup, it potentially could look a lot like this year's starting lineup with Hall instead of Hauser. And you're not automatically better. Now, the way college basketball works, you get grown men on your team who are 23 years old, like Tyson Walker is going to be next year, playing in a sport with other guys who are 18, 19. And the longer you're in the sport and the more you are driven by winning and the right things, and like things like what happened to Tyson Walker at Madison Square Garden, where he got outplayed by the opposing guard and wasn't the alpha on the court, like that sticks with you, and that is something that drives you and makes you a better player. The more that stuff, that helps. But who on this roster elevates them, and are they elevated through their depth? And then the other question is, do they have any holes? And I still think they still have to me, make sure the guys they have coming back at center take significant steps this summer. Because now you've got, last year it was sort of a shame that they didn't have a seasoned center because that team had the goods to do more. Next year it would be beyond a shame. It would be just because you've got too much. You've got too many guys, but you got to have one of those centers be ready. And but look, it's.
Are you talking about Sissoko then?
No, I'm Carson Cooper's the guy I think could do it, and we'll see what Obviously, Xavier Booker's going to be interesting because he's slender. He's skilled, talented. May play as much of the 4 as he does the 5. I don't know.
Can hold onto the ball, rebound.
He's skilled. Yeah, there's no question. And we'll see how quickly he adjusts. I think Fears will adjust quickly. And the other thing that then gets interesting, and I get into this in I've written a couple quick takes column, one on Hall's return today and sort of the overall roster construction, and then yesterday on Tyson Walker. But when you start to look at the minutes and who's going to take them up, the top 6 guys, A.J. Hoggard, Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, Malik Hall, and then those guys are going to play, I think, 25, 28, 30 minutes a game. I think Xavier Booker and Jeremy Fears, as long as they're healthy and everything to some degree that they're projected to be, they're playing at least 15 minutes a game. And I think those 6 get to 140. You've got 60 minutes left for 6 guys who want to be part of the rotation. That sort of seems like enough, but that's not counting any other center. And there are those 3 centers. It's not counting Trey Hulleman or Cohen Carr or Garrick Normand. And so it's going to be very interesting if they can pull this off. And one of the things Izzo must be feeling good about right now, and we'll find out more if anybody else is leaving or anything else happens unexpectedly. But what he is doing is sort of flying in the face of everything in college basketball. Getting guys to stick it out in one program, having this sort of depth, patience, and we'll see how much that actually sticks. And doing it largely without the transfer portal. You had one guy transferred out who had fallen out of the rotation in Pierre Brooks. You had one guy transfer in 2 years ago when they needed a point guard in Tyson Walker. And on next year's team, that's it. In a day and age where the transfer portal is a reflex, be it for NIL money, be it for anything else, greener pastures, for some guys moving up for some good reasons, others for not great reasons. But it is a reflex of impatience and often guys seeking something that has to be gotten within and isn't always at the next place either. And you see guys try to transfer again or unhappy there. That hasn't happened to this program. Now, I don't know how sustainable that is. If this is the new world of college basketball, at some point Michigan State will begin to look like the new world of college basketball. But with this first group and this iteration of the roster, while everything else it hasn't, and that's pretty amazing. The question now for Izzo is, can he find the right lineup combinations? Can he push the right buttons? Can he keep people engaged and happy and understanding that their time will come? And if he does that, then he's earning those Hall of Fame stripes.
So I was reading your 3 takes on Tyson Walker. I didn't get a chance for the Malik Hall ones, but you were talking about NIL money, and it's a good thing we don't know what Tyson Walker gets. I mean, is that a good thing long term for NCAA basketball, where we don't know what guys are getting?
Well, I don't know that it's a good thing, but it's just not our business. It's not our business we don't know what Aaron Rodgers or Chris Paul get from State Farm, right? Same deal with these guys. It's an endorsement deal. It's not our business. It's not that I'm not curious. It's not that I don't want to know. It's not that I haven't been told a figure by different people.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't have any documentation or anything that's actually able to report that figure.
Right.
I have a sense that, and that's why I'm comfortable saying things like, I know they're doing okay. They're doing well. I think they're doing better than they might do in year one in Europe. And so that has been good for the health and strength of college basketball. Guys who used to leave for the G League or used to jump in the draft when they were like, you're not even projected to be drafted. Those guys are like, I'll just do college again. I'm getting paid for this, live on a campus. It's the best. It's the best deal.
But the concern is just, the shady guys that get in here and not knowing. I get it, Aaron Rodgers knowing what he makes. No one really cares because he makes $40 million a season, whatever he gets paid from State Farm. Who gives a shit? I'm just talking like, what are these guys? I'm not saying you have to know the exact figure, I guess, but I feel if there's no rules or regulations, to have it kind of hidden is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean,
are guys just swooping in? I mean, it should be just going, here's $500K. I mean,
but this isn't something that can really be regulated in a lot of ways. I don't think
ever.
I don't think it will be. I mean, because it's not the NCAA's business. This is their name, image, and likeness. What will change is if these guys become employees, which could happen. If there is more, and I think we're going to get to a point of certain revenue sharing in different ways, we may find out figures then. And we know certain things with like Matt Ishbia giving a certain amount a month to different programs. That stuff we're aware of. But I think, that's not the bulk of it for like the Michigan State basketball players.
All right.
And that creates an opportunity it makes these guys think about things differently. And I think you have to be careful if you're these guys not to do something entirely for the money, which is also something it's important to pause and think about to make sure you still have. We've all made decisions in our lives where you start to get into it and you're like, this is a mistake. I don't really feel like doing
but when
this
you're talking
again.
about those kind of numbers, though, even if it's like $20K, it's like I'd pretty much do it.
Yeah, I've made a couple.
Someone was just ready to hand you $20K. We could be talked into a lot.
Hey, I said yes to the newspaper and the Petoskey News out of college because they were offering me $30,000, and I had never seen that kind of money before. Not up front, but like over the course of a year, and all the other papers offering me were like between 21 and 25K, and it was like 30K.
You thought you were rich as hell.
Oh man, I would have blown through. It was, and it wasn't the right job. I said yes, and I had an apartment in Petoskey in August of 2002 that my parents paid for because I had run out of money. And you talk about privilege,
apologize.
Yeah, but I decided like a day before I was supposed to go up there. My parents picked me up in Chicago. From my apartment in Chicago in college, or help me move the van out. We drive back to Lansing. The next day, I am moving to Petoskey. I'm clearly having second thoughts. I take the job in Freeport. I leave for Freeport, Illinois, like 4 hours ahead of them to find an apartment that we can move all my shit into. But I made that decision. One of the decisions I made out of money. That's
a relatable story to these guys that are taking 30 grand.
Oh, okay. Maybe not. We'll fix it in post. That is a story we're telling, by the way, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. Yeah, anyway.
I'm just saying, I don't mind these guys getting paid what they deserve by any means. I'm just worried about the shady guys that are going to come in, and it's just it seems like it's a free-for-all, and it's just like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop and some scandal to happen or something.
I've talked to enough people about this in the business that think that in a few years, a lot of things will begin to sort itself out. Some of the big numbers now. There will be a lot of people who don't see the return on their investment, who don't really want to do this anymore. The danger for college basketball is See, it works. What's happening to Michigan State right now works. The guys that fans have grown up knowing, so to speak, they've grown up within the program, they've come to love them, are getting paid to either stay or, whatever, while they're there. Less as an inducement, but they're not guys who are, I think it's going to be different. Fans like to know their teams. They don't like guys jumping around. It's not going to help the sport if it becomes this, this free agency where every year your team loses 3 or 4 guys. You can't even get a sense of knowing a guy or get close to a guy in terms of that being your favorite player. 3 or 4 more guys come in who are transfers on NIL deals. Like, that's not good for the sport. It's just not. It will not, to me, and it'll work itself out because ultimately the sport isn't big enough to survive that in a lot of ways. It's already a niche sport that's a 6-week season to most of the country, and there's a lot of money and interest in certain places. But you do have to be careful. You can kill certain markets where people lose hope and lose interest, and I think some of it will work itself out. Right now, we're still in this period of time where a couple things are happening. One, it's the extra COVID year, so you have a lot of extra years going on, and the ability to move, and you also have guys who came into college when NIL didn't exist, and they're trying to get something that's theirs, and everybody's still figuring it out. So it's all good right now. And what Michigan State has got a number of, they've gotten their guys to stick around, and it's going to be a wild year next year. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be, I've covered a few of these, Jason. You've experienced them where the expectations are, the anticipation is incredible. It's so great. It's fun to go in. It's fun to talk about. Every game will be interesting. There will be new, my freshman thoughts and the quick takes will be entertaining because there's all, everybody wants to read about these particular freshmen. It'll be an interesting season, and I don't know that they won't lose another guy before next year. I don't know that won't happen, but we haven't seen it yet. And ultimately, you want to get old in college basketball. You want to be old and talented, and then you want to also have some blue chip difference makers, and they may have the ideal mix. They just got to make sure they have enough high end guys, and I think they probably do. And then the real question is, do you have a hole somewhere that hurts you? And I'm not talking a hole that hurts you on a random Wednesday night against Penn State. They're going to overwhelm a lot of teams. But do you have something that you can't overcome when you face next year's version of this year's UConn team?
But are you matchup proof?
Are you matchup proof? That's the thing we don't know. Oh, there's the column. Are you? We'll get into that. Before we get to James, real quick, the only other eventful thing of the day was Noah Kim talking about the quarterback controversy or competition at Michigan State. Said he doesn't know when it's going to be settled, doesn't know where the coaches stand, but he said until game 1, it's on. That was what he said. It's a great line. And we'll see. I mean, Noah Kim is sort of, is our friend Jack Ebling put it in a question to him. He said, are you the forgotten man between Caton Hauser, everybody loves, and the 2-year starter, Peyton Thorne? And it's a fair question, and he answered it fine. And what's he going to say? Yes, I am forgotten. He said, no,
I've been forgotten. Now I have a chip on my shoulder.
I go out and fight every day. And it'll be interesting to see if a guy like that actually won the job. It would be entertaining as hell. Like, out of nowhere, it's Noah Kim is the starting quarterback for Michigan State. We'll learn more and I'll write more about that after Saturday's spring practice game-ish thingamajig, whatever it is. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll have James Edwards on from The Athletic. We're going to talk some Pistons. We'll have Harry on later and pick some games. We'll be right back. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wondered just how comfortable you can be? Find out with Muskox high-quality flannels. Muskox is a Detroit-based company that creates durable comfort that'll last a lifetime. Muskox flannels are thoughtfully designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. This will be the softest flannel you'll ever buy, guaranteed. For every $100 purchase, Muskox will donate $10 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the
Best Damn Beer Bar, world famous Cosmic Fries, mouth-watering, award-winning burgers, including the Peyton Thorne burger. No matter if he's the starting quarterback or not, maybe they'll have a Noah Kim burger by the fall. Who knows? Who knows? We will see. Lots of TVs to watch the games. Great place to gather. And one of the things they do is, of course, they have local brewing partners. So wherever you are, it feels like a local brewery, be it Grand Rapids, East Lansing, Detroit, where our next guest lives, my friend James Edwards, who covers the Detroit Pistons for The Athletic. James, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm ready for that Noah Kim burger.
Would you? Yeah. We should just go in and ask for it and see what happens. Go to Hopkins. Can I have the Noah Kim burger? I heard he was the new starting quarterback. Let's.
I'm ready for that to happen, as you know.
Yeah.
All due respect to Peyton Thorne.
I'm aware of your stance. It's interesting. You're okay as long as even if it was Noah Kim and not Caton Hauser.
I'm not as in tune with the up and coming guys as I used to be. Everybody swears by Hauser and thinks he's the guy.
Nobody's ever seen him play though, so that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen Noah Kim throw some. It's only been 2, but I've seen him throw some dimes. I'm ready.
Some garbage time dimes. Yeah. And
it would be cool just to have like an Asian quarterback. I don't know. That's kind of sweet.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. Well, so congratulations on finishing year 6, by the way, covering the Pistons.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
You are ready for I'm guessing, a hibernation, a little bit of a slumber during the playoffs before you have to ramp it up for the draft lottery and the draft and everything. You've done some nice work this week as the season closes up, and including today a Q&A with Troy Weaver. And first of all, I want to get your sense on, is this was a rough year, right? I think people hoped they would take a step. The Cade injury hurt them a ton. But are they further behind than people like me thought? Or really, if Cade Cunningham's healthy, they add a veteran, they add a wing, as Troy Weaver said, that's a position they need, a guy who can defend and hit threes on the wing. All of a sudden, this is a group that's ready to take a step and be somebody who's playing for a play-in spot next year and playing relevant basketball.
I think, and I wrote this column yesterday, and people can say I'm carrying their water, I'm holding their jockstrap, whatever the case, whatever words they want to use. But I don't think this season was a complete loss when you look at what Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren became. I mean, Jaden Ivey just got better every single month and never played point guard. Started to look comfortable. His shooting got up to close to 37% the second half of the season. Jalen Duren being the youngest player in the league and having stretches where he just dominated games. Like, I walked away from the season thinking that they have potentially 3 All-Stars down the line. And I understand that the average fan looks at kind of linear progression to know that things are going well. But as you know, Graham, like, sports doesn't always work that way. And the point of a rebuild is to acquire as much high-end young talent as possible. And whether or not, and again, I understand if maybe people got excited with how they ended the year last year, year 2 of Cade, they thought the wins would be there. But this year was always going to be a rebuilding year still. And when Cade went down, it really became a rebuilding year. But if you look at it for what it is, a rebuilding season, they end this year with better high-end young talent than they did last year when you factor in how good Jaden and Jalen were in their rookie seasons. So I don't want to go as far as say success, but I think anybody who wants to argue with me that this team doesn't have a reason to be more optimistic now than it did a year ago, even with Cade playing well, then I think they just like to argue just to argue too. So,
well, no, you made a good point in the column the other day on Duren and Ivey. You said something about Ivy that, I think a lot of people at a certain point in this season sort of tune out in terms of watching the games.
Right.
But that Ivy was pretty much unrecognizable by April.
Yeah.
And that is compared to where he was at the beginning of the year. And the comment by Troy Weaver in your Q&A today about Duren being one guy he does not put a ceiling on. Like, those are your 2 first-round picks last year. And as much as everybody loved the initial class with Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey and Killian Hayes and their potential, like, those 3 guys never had the upside of the guys they just drafted a year ago. And essentially, if you're trying to get guys who are stars, Ivy and Duren both leave year one with, usually at the end of year one, that guy's got a limitation, a ceiling on him. There's no ceiling on either guy after year one, and that's a pretty good place to be.
100%. And that, to me, I sympathize with fans and understand how difficult it is to go through the rigors of that season. And trust me, and I said it in the column, I can't turn the channel like you guys can. I got to sit there and watch. But if you don't think that this team has better high-end young talent right now than it did a year ago this season when everybody was still excited, then you're arguing just to argue, because Jaden and Jalen, like you said, you tend to know what a guy can be after his first year. That's not always the case, but you're like, okay, this guy, I can see a ceiling here. With those 2, you just don't. And that's what a rebuild is supposed to be about. That's what, when people clamored for the Pistons to rebuild for so long, it's because they wanted high-end, they wanted stars, people to build around. Well, you know what? Now they have it. And also the best player of them hasn't played all year. And then guess what? They might get the number 1 pick too. So if I understand rebuilds are tough to get through. You want one until you get one. But like I said, the Pistons have 3 guys who legitimately, if you told me 3 or 4 years from now are all-stars, I wouldn't blink twice.
You're talking about Cade Cunningham obviously being the other one.
Yes. Yep.
So another guy I want to ask you about, and I'm curious to see what they do this offseason. They obviously have 3 big men right now, and this is not a sport where you usually play 3 big men. And Isaiah Stewart and James Wiseman and Durham. And how do you think that sorts itself out? And like, Wiseman's shown some things. Like, I think that was a nice little move there, and I think he's going to have a career, and this was a good move for him. The question is it in Detroit?
Yeah, and that's a fair question. I actually think the one of the big man group, and you forgot, and you didn't say his name, that's going to be left out if possible, is Marvin Bagley. I think they can go on with Duren, Wiseman, and Stewart as their 3. I think if the opportunity presents itself that they would move on from Bagley. And why I say that is Marvin can score. He kind of reminds me of a modern-day Greg Monroe, where he's a little bit more athletic than Greg was.
God, Monroe.
But you hated Greg because he couldn't move his feet. But
so
he put
mopey.
the ball in the basket.
Greg Monroe and Andre Drummond might have been my least favorite tandem of all time in any sport ever.
It wasn't the best. No, it was pretty gross. But Marvin's a more athletic Monroe. He's a scorer. He struggles defensively, and I know people are like, it's hard to remember the order of operations, right? So they draft Duren, and they probably don't expect him to have the year that he had. They're very high on him, but for him to come out and be ready the way he was, they re-signed Bagley because they got to have the safety valve there, right? And it turns out that Duren is better than Marvin. So then you're stuck with Marvin, and then you can't pass up. If you think Wiseman has that legit of upside, and you're only giving up Sadiq Bey, who, again, I understand Pistons fans fell in love with because he was the one guy in these constant 3 seasons of losing that brought some excitement, but he is what he was, right? I think we all knew that he capped out as like a NBA rotation player. So if you can get Wiseman and you're high on him, you have Duren. Stewart's the one that can play with either one of them, and the one that Troy just absolutely loves, and another guy who has continued to get better each and every year, even if it doesn't show up statistically with just the way he plays and the way he processes the game. I think those 3 are probably the safest, and maybe you get a year from now and you don't bring back Wiseman, but I think Marvin, if they have a chance to, would probably be the one that they move this summer.
And they don't have to. Wiseman, they can just pick up that option, right? And they don't have to do anything, right? Is that what it is this year? So that they just pick it up and you get him for another year, and then you make a decision. Yep,
he'll be a restricted free agent next year if they don't extend him. But
okay.
I wouldn't be, because he's the same class as Isaiah, Killian, and Sadiq, so he only has 1 year left. But maybe they extend him, maybe they don't. But it's not like they still have him for another season.
This is an interesting draft because I think it's a top 3 I really like. It's a number 1 that's fascinating. I don't even know if I want Wembanyama. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean,
I think the hype has gotten a little overboard. Like, there's people that think he's going to come in and dominate the league, and I'll bet good money on it he does not.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like Brandon Miller, to be honest. I mean, that's the guy that I'm not saying he's going to be better than Wembanyama. I just think I can see him in the NBA. Wembanyama, I don't know yet what that is. And big guys tend to have like 17-foot injuries, and he's just as likely to be, Ralph Sampson as he is Akeem Olajuwon, so to speak. But like, that, and then Scoot, the number 2 pick, Scoot Henderson. Like, I mean, that's a guard that I don't know if it fits. So I'm going to go through that. Like, if they get, first of all, I hate now that the Pistons are bad, I hate the new draft situation where it's like 14%. Like, it's almost not worth tanking. It's like, I mean, I know they got the number 1 pick with Cade, but they got a 50% chance of like the number 5 pick. That sucks.
Right, that's the most likely selection. Yeah.
Right. That's brutal in this draft. It's not a great draft necessarily. So, but say they get 1. Are they taking Wembanyama?
Yeah, I think so, and then they figure it out 100%.
Okay.
I think if they take 2, it's a conversation. I think there's a chance Miller goes 2. If they get 3, I think they take Scoot. If they get 4 or 5, my hunch, so I'm not reporting it, I haven't talked to anybody about this, I think they trade 4 or 5.
Okay. Yeah.
I do. And try to get off Marvin's contract that way, pick up a pick in the later draft or later in the lottery and a future pick or 2.
Because
I like Jordan Hawkins from UConn. Like, I think he would be a great fit. If you got 4, move back to 12, package Marvin, have somebody take Marvin's contract, and you end up with Jordan Hawkins, I think he would fit in very nicely on this team.
So if they did that, and they would get another pick later, are you talking like another pick, a first-round pick in another year, 2 years from now or something?
Yeah, like down like 2, like if you could get 2 future picks. Like, I look at Oklahoma City, say they don't get out of the play-in. They're very close to being competitive. Maybe there's a guy they like at 4. You give them 4, you take their 12 this year, and then they have a million picks to just give up, like loose change. And
right.
There's a relationship there. You get a future pick for next year and a future pick for like 2026 because the Pistons don't have any future picks to play with right now.
So if it's 1 through 3, they keep it, and it's a pretty and there's a conversation at 2, and then at 3 you take whichever the guys is left. And
that's how I think it'll go.
But obviously with Brandon Miller, you can see how he fits. Like, that's it's a 6'9" wing. I mean, it's ideal in a lot of ways. I mean, with Scoot, like, how does Scoot fit if that's who they wound up with what they're doing? Does he not?
No, I think he does. I mean, if we're being honest, he would go number 1 if Wembanyama was in this class, and he'd probably go number 1 in maybe the last 2 drafts besides Cade's draft. He's a better prospect than Ivy coming into the draft. The thing is, if you believe in Ivy and you don't think there's a ceiling there, you obviously can understand what you're saying. Like, do the pieces match? But at the end of the day, all these guys are on rookie deals.
Yeah, right. Figure it out later.
You take them and you figure you're not in a rush to figure it out. And one of them could play backup point guard because they need one anyway until then. So. Yeah, there's no need to rush, but I would assume that they would have a conversation if they ended up at 3 and they have a chance to take Scoot, or 2 and they have a chance to take Scoot, and maybe you try to capitalize on either the pick, trade that and get the wing you need, or you trade Ivy, keep Scoot and get the wing you need. So options are always good. That's something, and we've talked about it before. Pistons didn't have much options during the Van Gundy era, and this current iteration positioned themselves to have several options that they can go.
No, I mean, the Pistons were the worst team in basketball this year, and yet I think you'd rather be the Pistons than probably 20 other NBA teams.
Oh, yeah, like Chicago.
Yeah.
And those teams wish that they were in the Pistons' position. Yeah.
That's the worst. The teams that are just figuring out that they're bad that now have to get worse before they get really bad. I mean, that's like we've just seen this process. It's brutal, and nobody wants to go through that again. Who in your mind?
And that just really quick, and that's part of like my beef with fans, like wanting them to hurry up and rush the rebuild. It's like you just want to make the playoffs again and be right back in that spot. You know what I mean? Like, I understand it's painful and it stinks, but they got to be smart with this because you can really only start from the bottom once every decade or so. You got to be smart as possible about it.
And I don't even think it's every team's fault individually. It's the fact that all the Detroit teams sucked together for so long.
Right, but
like, people are just tired of it.
But the Pistons are the last one to rebuild, and they're the team that needs, like, the ones that, The Wings have been doing it long enough. Let them win a playoff game. The Tigers have been doing it long enough. Let them win a playoff game. The Lions haven't won one since I've been alive. Let them win one. You know what I mean? The Pistons are last on that list. I don't get why they want them to hurry up. You know what I mean?
Jason, I forget how young James is. I mean, you think your life has been tortured. He has never seen the Lions win a playoff game, ever.
Not a single one. I was born the year after they did it.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Jets hat right now as we speak.
All right, who's going to win? Who do you think comes out of the East?
It's Boston. I just think Tatum and Brown are too good.
Okay. How about the West?
And I don't trust Middleton's health right now.
Okay.
The West is so tough, man.
Yeah. So, better question: who's your dark horse? From a gambling perspective, like, can Sacramento come out of the West? Is there a path for them where we're just underestimating them because everybody shit on their defense all year and they're too new to this experience? Like, is there a dark horse that you like?
Can we count the Warriors as a dark horse? Are they on the odds as a dark horse?
Not greatly. No,
okay,
yeah.
all right. Well then, no.
But
the Clippers?
Yeah, the Clippers are a little bit of a dark horse. Yeah.
If they get out of the first round, they get Paul George back. Kawhi's been playing out of his mind the second half of the season. I mean, that's as good of a tandem as you can get. But I mean, ultimately, I think the Suns stay healthy. It's their conference to win. I want to see the Nuggets though. It'd be fun to see the Nuggets. I like seeing different teams.
Yeah. I could watch a Nuggets Celtics finals. That would be very entertaining. Yeah, no, for sure. James, you're a beautiful man. Congrats on getting through another season. We got to play some pickup ball together real soon.
Yeah, I promise I will make that happen. I'll be out your way, buddy.
Look forward to it. That is James Edwards from The Athletic. You can read his stuff there, and I think you know how I feel about him. LSJ alum, and my favorite person to play pickup basketball with, in one sense, that if you're playing with somebody who doesn't make the right reads, doesn't pass the ball to the open man when they should, his shoulders just drop. He is so disappointed. The shaming is unbelievable. He just cannot hide it. It's a beautiful thing to
We're dropping MFers now?
Any takeaways from that?
You guys don't think Wembanyama is the real deal, though?
I don't know. I'm not as convinced. I'm not as sold.
I'm not saying I don't know about dominate, but from the highlights I've seen, he looks like a 7'5" guy that's athletic. I mean, if you're going to, Rudy Gobert went for 4 first-round picks. Who would you rather have? I mean,
no, I'd rather have Victor. But
right. So I mean, you guys are saying he might be overrated, or people are overrating him. People overrate I mean, if you follow Tony Dombrowski, he loves everybody. So you know what I mean? Like, if certain people on Twitter overhype people, it's because they're homers.
I would just assume have Brandon Miller.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Wembanyama moves the needle, though.
You know what? If they we'll all
especially
be on board.
for a team like Detroit.
If they get the first pick, everybody will be on board. No, this will all be this stuff will all be bullshit. The worst. And if they get the third pick and they wind up with Miller, then everybody will be on board with that. Because I think people do feel good about those 3 picks. That is our interview of the week presented by our friends at Hopcat. We're going to have Harry Gagnon next. We'll pick some games, talk some bets, and figure out what he was talking to Jim Harbaugh about at the Bruce Springsteen concert. That's next. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to the best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts. Guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official supporter of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne burger, created by the man himself. And don't forget about Spartan basketball. Hopcat is your pre-game headquarters for basketball all season long. Catch the game at any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rue, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, and our Tuesday night show brought to you by Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar just north of Frandor on East Saginaw in Lansing. It is time to pick the games presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app with the great Harry Gagnon from Against All Odds with Cousin Sal, BestBetCorner.com, and ExtraPoints.com. Harry, brother, it is good to have you back.
Hey, what's up, guys? Everything okay?
Yeah, we lost a lot of money on the Masters, but otherwise we're good. We're good. We're making it back betting against the Tigers. So we're
right. I lose a ton at the Masters, but I just couldn't get things going myself. I mean, on Against All Odds, I gave out Will Zalatoris, who withdrew, thank God, before he teed off, so at least I got my money back. But, yeah, once that happened, I should have just said, you know what, listen, I went away for the weekend, but again, I was in Dallas this past weekend, so I probably should have just said forget it. I'm done with the Masters, right?
When you're rooting for the withdrawal, you know you're in a bad spot. That's
and you have to bet the Masters though. It's a major tournament. It's not like it's the RBC though, Harry. I mean, you have to sprinkle just a little bit.
You had to bet it, but again, I think this is the second year with Scheffler winning last year. Just there was not any. You know, what I do love about the Masters is the drama and the coming down on the back nine on Sunday, but 2 years in a row. I don't know. I mean, I know the ratings were through the roof this year, which they beat the ratings for San Diego State versus Connecticut in the NCAA finals, but just not a lot of drama 2 years in a row. I was okay with it, but I wasn't thrilled.
Well, so before we get into this, Harry, I've heard the stories from Jason about you and Jim Harbaugh and Bruce Springsteen hanging out together. I need to know what the conversations were between you and Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah, that was a couple weeks ago when Springsteen was in Detroit. By the way, you guys know, and I will say this about Detroit Rock City. That was like the fifth concert I've been on, fourth or fifth on this tour, and by far the loudest crowd was in Detroit. So I will say that about the Detroit area people. It was fantastic. But, yeah, it was just me and my buddy, who's a huge Springsteen fan. We're going to be going to in a couple of weeks, we're going to Barcelona, Spain for Springsteen, and then in a month and a half, we'll be going to we'll be in Holland for Springsteen too. So we're traveling not just around the country, but around the world for him. But yeah, we were in the pit area before the concert started, and then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, Jim Harbaugh walks in by himself in jeans, no khakis. He's chewing tobacco in a Tim Hortons coffee cup. And he couldn't have been nicer to everyone else around there. So then I just said, you know, I think it's going to be my turn to tell him something. And I did tell him that I was I came up to him, and he was very gracious. And I said, you know, Jim, I do a lot of sports betting, and cost me a chunk from time to time. But 2 years ago, I was at the Ohio State-Michigan game in Ann Arbor. And that's when, on the video, you see me, you know, pumping up my arms like I'm getting a little mouthy with them. Not really. But I just said it was about time you finally, because a lot of people didn't think you were going to get over the hump. You got over the hump, and now you've done it 2 years in a row. This team, the game this year against Ohio State, you were unbelievable, dominant performance. And he said, thanks. But I said, last year, 2 years ago in Ann Arbor, it was fantastic. It's the scene, the weather, everything. It was awesome. He said, thanks a lot.
That seems kind of wordy for being on the ground floor there.
I love it.
Springsteen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was before,
Harry getting animated.
Before the lights went, before it went dark there, it was I had the opportunity, so I took. I made the most of it, I guess.
That's fantastic.
That is a cool move by Harbaugh, though, to show up by yourself with a lipper in. I mean,
yeah,
I want to like Harbaugh, you know.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to. I'm going to see you, Bruce.
Everybody. There were women, guys going up to him, wanting pictures, wanting to shoot the breeze. He, during the concert, before the concert, he couldn't have been cooler.
Wow, he's a better man than I am.
Well, you had the same problem. Yeah, Jason was just, shooing him away.
I was on 70 MGs. I was looking right at Bruce Springsteen and thought we were going to heaven after that. It was so amazing.
Good show, right, Jay?
Oh, my God. It was absolutely unbelievable. And it was surprised me when you said it's one of the best shows that you've been to. I thought the crowd was kind of like Bruce had to get him into it. But, yeah, I mean, it was an unbelievable show.
The crowd behind the stage, everybody was standing. Everyone was waving their hands. I thought it was electric. I loved it.
Well, Harbaugh says, Graham, who's got it better than anybody? And who's got it better than Harry? I mean, he's going to Barcelona to see the boss and Holland. What are we doing?
Yeah, by the way, just 15 minutes before here the show, me and my buddy figured out that Barcelona. By the way, you'll love this, Graham. Barcelona is playing somebody the night before the concert we're going to in Barcelona. So we're going to the Barcelona soccer game.
Mother, that's awesome.
Now Graham's hard.
I was, I just found out the other day I was listening.
Osuna, something like that.
Yeah, Osuna's in the league. Yeah,
is that in the CONCACAF?
I've won money on Osuna this year. There was a game apparently in Germany. One of the great stadium and fan experience in the second level of German soccer is in Kaiserslautern. And back in 2012, I stayed in Kaiserslautern for 72 hours when we were covering Michigan State basketball over there at Ramstein Air Force Base. It's an amazing town, amazing, cool, city center. And I didn't know, just wasn't into it. Like right around me, it was the middle of soccer season. They had game, I just didn't know. I didn't take advantage of it. I would have stayed extra days, gone to games on both ends. Didn't even know what I was missing. So,
very cool.
Yeah, no. All right, so this is obviously no great golf event, but we have the Tigers. We have things to bet against. Harry, what are you betting this week? What do you like?
Well, I mean, look, we've got NBA playoffs. Regular season's done. Starting tonight with a couple of play-in games, and we got a couple tomorrow. Let's go with tomorrow's play-in games. I don't love either side in either matchup between Toronto and Chicago and New Orleans against OKC, but I do have a couple 3-point props that you guys might like. First, in the Toronto-Chicago game, how about Fred VanVleet over 2.5 threes at -130? He's the second leading scorer on the Raptors this season. 2 of the 3 games versus the Chicago this year, VanVleet had 5 and 6 3-pointers made in the games. He's averaging 3 threes a game. He averaged 3 threes a game in last year's playoffs, and his last 15 playoff games, he's attempted at least 10 threes in 10 of those 15 games. Give me VanVleet, who's a playoff veteran, over 2.5 threes, and in the New Orleans OKC game, another veteran when it comes to playoff basketball. Give me the Pelicans, C.J. McCollum, over 2.5 threes. I've got to lay a little price here, guys, -165, but he had 3 or more in his 2 games played versus OKC this season, and in 3 straight playoff series. McCollum in game 1 has had 3 or more threes. Give me CJ over 2.5 threes as well against the Thunder.
And you also like the Kings over Golden State. The series price here is, you see around +250 for the Kings. That's a great. I think that's good value, right? That they were better all year.
Am I missing something on this? I mean, I understood. Look, yeah, I've seen 225. I've seen 250, Graham. Also, if you want to do an odds on the series, you can get Kings Sacramento +1.5 games. +1.5 games and still getting plus money at 115.
They got home court. Yeah, I mean it's yeah.
I get this. I get the line because of what Golden State has done with their experience, the Splash Brothers, with Green. I get it all, but still, Sacramento won the Pacific Division, and they have no experience in the playoffs whatsoever. I get that still, but they won the Pacific Division, not Golden State, not Phoenix. Not either LA team. You got to give them some credit. The fans are going to be going crazy there. Sacramento and when they're on the road, they were +9 games over 500 on the road. And Golden State, 11-30. 11-30 on the road. That is the worst road record out of the teams that qualified for the playoffs. Sabonis and Fox are tremendous. I think if they need some scoring, and so I think Sabonis is the key to this whole series. But I think if they're in a bit of a drought, Fox can get you a couple quick baskets. He's that good. Both guys made the All-Star team this year. I just don't. I understand where the line's coming from, but at the same time, I don't get it. I don't think it's fair. I think it's crazy. I'm on the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, it's the best value to me in the playoffs, right? I mean, there's just on series prices. I mean, I even think when you start to look at like odds to win the West, and you can get, the Clippers are plus 1,600. There's some value maybe there, but Sacramento's plus 2,000. Like, if they just get to the conference finals, you can hedge like crazy and make that. I don't get it. I mean,
I will take the plus 225. I will take the plus 250. I'll take the plus 1.5 at plus money too. You're going to tell me Golden State is a minus 300 favorite for this series when they were 11 and 19 games under 500 on the road during the regular season? I don't care. On principle alone, I'm taking Sac down.
No, I totally get it. So you also have a two-team baseball parlay for Wednesday night. Jason and I are enjoying the. We're just against the Tigers, and you can still get them at like there's a little bit of juice, but at 1.5 at the Blue Jays, and that's to me it's just the way to go.
Let me ask you, how are you two enjoying the Detroit Tigers' first week of the baseball season so far? What are you guys? What are your thoughts on the season so far?
Peacock.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we have the potential to make money, so we've accept. I think we're in the acceptance stage, and let's capitalize, right, Jason? What do you say?
Although they are up 3-0 right now on the Blue Jays. Lots of baseball to go, boys. But
that's good. That's good because that will lead into my parlay for tomorrow. I am taking the Blue Jays at minus 260 against the Tigers. Kevin Gossman's on the mound for Toronto. He's pitched 12 innings this season. He's given up 0 earned runs and has 14 Ks. Detroit, as you guys well know, minus 35 in run differential. That is the second worst in Major League Baseball behind Oakland. So I'm going to take the Blue Jays at minus 260, and I'm going to take the Braves at minus 260 against the Reds. Now this parlay pays even money. Braves minus 260 against Cincinnati. Spencer Strider, 2.45 ERA. He's got 18 Ks this season in 2 starts. He had 9 in both games. He's had also some great run support in both starts. 7 runs in both. Give me the Braves with the Blue Jays. Pays even money on Wednesday night.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. When the Tigers win, Jason, and like I always feel
like ass.
No, I mean, because I've lost money, but I always feel like there's no way they're going to win 2 in a row or 3 in a row. Like that third game against Houston when they'd won 2 in a row, it was like you can load up on that. They're not sweeping the Astros in Houston.
Well, I mean, especially with the numbers Harry's talking about, it's their hitting is so embarrassing, and that's why it's easier to bet against these guys because it's just a shit show. I mean, if they were scoring runs here and there, and the pitching staff, the bullpen was screwing around, I could understand. But this is just embarrassing baseball.
So
what's the over-under? Graham, put the number out there. What's the over-under on games attended by Jason this year?
Tigers games?
Yeah.
I would say I would put the number at 1.5, and I would take the under. I think he'll go to a game because it's fun. At some point,
I should tell you, my birthday is Saturday, so we're going to a game this month.
Oh, shit.
So there's one.
So maybe 2.5. I said it at 2. 2.5.
Let me fill you in. My buddy Jordan, he gets free tickets through his work. So
7.5. Setting it at 7.5, and we'll see what happens from there.
Because I do love some free buffet stuff, and just free anything going to a game for free makes it a lot easier to go on a nice day.
And if it's a nice day and it's not overcrowded, those are the best days when you don't have just every. I mean that in some ways, as long as you're able to, and if you've got money on the other team and the Tigers suck, you're able to enjoy the day out of the
Just point me towards the owner's box so I can give the finger. Make myself feel better about giving them money for $5-7 waters.
Right.
Yeah.
I look forward to these stories Sunday night. I got a couple soccer bets for you, Harry.
All right, let me write these. I'm going to grab my pen. Let me write these down, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
So the first this week, I really like what's happened a little bit with Crystal Palace late this year, and I think people are sleeping on them. They've had a couple really strong performances. New coach, new vibe, all that stuff. They're at Southampton, which is pretty much going to get relegated. A little desperation, but they are. It's pretty much minus 110 on the pick'em, plus 169 on the money line. Like I like that both ways. I like Crystal Palace at South Haven. I'll probably chicken out and just take the pick'em. So that means draw no bet. If they tie it, you get your money back. And then the other thing is right now Man City is cruising, and that allows you to do. But not only they're cruising, but they have to win. Right? They're trying to catch Arsenal in the Premier League, and I know they won today in the Champions League. Impressive performance against Bayern Munich. And so, like, you can throw them in. They're a parlay thrower inner. That doesn't make sense. But you get what I mean. Like, they're minus 630 now. It's up to minus 630 against Leicester City. But when you put that in, they're going to beat Leicester City at home. They're going to win that game. So if you get like a minus 140 bet somewhere else, just parlay it, throw Manchester City in, you get even money. Like, that allows you to kill the juice elsewhere. And then final thing, and you may need to have a guy or a special book. Not every book has this. But my dad's old club, Torquay United, in danger of being relegated out of the National League, the 5th division of English soccer. They have won 4 straight games to rise up from second to last place. They're now 1 point out of danger, from out of danger. They host York City this Saturday. 4 straight wins. York City's, has a better record than them, but not plus 137 on the money line, a pick'em minus 140. Torquay United is rolling. I'm riding it until it ends. So if you got a guy somewhere and you got a book that takes 5th division English soccer, Torquay United is the play.
Torquay's playing Yorkie. Is that what you said?
Torquay's playing York City. Yeah. That's the play. Torquay's at home. The Yellow Army will be out in full force. So I guess that sounds offensive. Yellow Army doesn't.
I'm going to play it.
You made it offensive.
Yeah.
I'm playing it. If I'm writing it down, Graham, I'm playing it.
Oh, beautiful. 4 straight.
Harry's got a guy.
They won on the road last week, 3-1. They were on. Yeah, it was impressive. You're a beautiful man, Harry. It is good to have you back, and hopefully we can talk to you again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. And happy birthday, Jay. Happy birthday.
Thanks,
buddy.
man. Appreciate it.
You got it.
That is the great Harry Gagnon from Against All Odds with Cousin Tal, Best Bet Corner, and ExtraPoints.com. It's good to hear his voice again. The Harbaugh Whisperer, Harry Gagnon.
He said so many words to Harbaugh. It's like I would just get in and get out,
We appreciate James Edwards' great insight on the Pistons. And, of course, we appreciate our sponsors, Skymint. And they've got their countdown to 420 daily prizes. You go to a Skymint right now, you register. You can win free weed for a year, all sorts of other cool prize packs. Go to skymint.com to check out location information and specials. And Front 43 and Cask & Company. Go to caskandcompany.com. Check out their menu. If you've never been, it's an outstanding place. Best TV setup around. Great menu. Great beer selection. We'll be back Thursday night with your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.